Everybody act tough when they up.
It's the Boristurk podcast. We are back from winter break, ready to start pumping out the content again. We're going to start with some big picture going around the league, talking about the big stories before getting into this very special rookie class. Max has pulled up the logo as his background, so we are officially ready to roll. Dude, how are you?
I'm good. Appreciate our listeners for hanging through the content void. We haven't potted for a few weeks now, but yeah, just got back from beautiful Point Reyes in California, and I'm feeling refreshed and ready as a lot of teams are kind of hitting slumps in the middle of this season.
Yeah, you thought the Knicks skid was due to your rest and relaxation.
Yeah.
Turns out you got nothing to do with it.
Fuck.
We are so bad at content creation because just as our numbers are going up and things are good, we take the 3-week layover, but we're back and there's a lot going on in the NBA right now. Vic probably isn't going to play enough games to win MVP, but he's my personal MVP just for blowing the season up and creating a sense of chaos, making the Thunder look human, even though we're going to talk about them later. And obviously I am going to be, the annoying curmudgeon trying to pump the brakes on any Thunder skepticism, especially after the 40-point blowout last night in Oklahoma City with Charlotte visiting. But more on that soon. The league has some ecosystems forming at this point. We've got the absolutely real top tier of a few teams, some middle-class anxiety, playing scrum, and then, the teams whose fourth quarter offenses are just completely unwatchable. And even those teams have tons of fun, guys. We always talk about this. Adam Silver mentioned that he's probably going to make a decision on expansion finally in 2026. It feels like it's time. I believe I could make the Sacramento Kings better if you just let me draft a roster from the G League right now. So yeah, too many good players, and I hope expansion comes because even the shitty teams now are really good league pass.
Yeah, we'll get into the draft stuff, but just we're at a portion of the season now where a lot of teams are hitting kind of weird slides. We're getting very weird results. You mentioned OKC losing by like 30 to Charlotte at home last night. Philadelphia had gone on a really nice streak and then suddenly lost last night to a Denver team that was starting four guys that got Calvin Booth fired as their general manager last year.
I actually saw Knicks fans. I've seen several Knicks fans tweet now that like rooting against Embiid, preying on his downfall isn't even fun anymore. It's just a little bit dark. Yeah, in typical Sixers luck, Zeke Naji turned into a real NBA player.
And Jalen Pickett.
Jalen Pickett, as the, whoever it was on Zach Lowe's pod a couple days ago, got the booty ball going. Yeah. Pistons 27-9, sitting at the top, ahead of the Celtics. Bill Simmons wants you to know. 23-12. Knicks 23-13. God, shit got bad for them fast. Raptors 22-15. Scotty Barnes had 25 boards while we were on our hiatus. That happened, and Scotty Barnes is having an incredible season. Really, really interesting bounce back. Huge for the Scotty over Paolo Hive. Then you've got a cluster of, like you said, Philly, Orlando, the Heat, Cavs, all hovering around the same zip code. We should mention the Pacers were in the finals last year. They've lost 12 games in a row. They're 6-30.
Yeah, my Halliburton best American player take from last episode is aging better and better with each passing day. And they have most of their guys back now. It's been like a few games where they've had Nemhard back and Neesmith back and, basically the team that went to the finals last year minus Halliburton and Turner. And they're the worst team in the league. They're 6-30. They're going to be, I think, a little bit better than that now that they have their guys back, and they'll be competitive and a pain in the ass to play on a night-to-night basis. But they are looking hell-bent on getting one of these top guys in this upcoming draft class, which is not the subject of today's episode. But next year, I think they'll be back to being an interesting team because Halliburton clearly just makes that team go. And assuming his Achilles recovery goes well, they're going to be, I think, right back in the mix. But it's been shocking seeing the gap between them and then Boston both losing their best player due to injury, both having, some of their higher rotation guys leave in free agency. For Indiana, it was just Miles Turner. For Boston, trading away Kristaps, Derek White, Al Horford going as well. I feel like there was one more guy who left too. And just like three or four of their top seven guys. And Tatum, obviously, tearing his Achilles.
Well, they didn't lose Derek White.
Sorry, did I say? I meant Drew Holiday
Yeah.
and Al Horford. If I didn't say
Yeah.
that.
No, it's heaven for the Tatum haters, even though obviously it's been more about Jaylen Brown playing at a near MVP level. Brad Stevens, as you've documented well this year, just being an absolute wizard, along with Presti, just a god of the game right now. Derek White being, the player we all know and love. And then guys around the edges really stepping up. But with the Pacers, just opposite situation. It feels like they have a lot of competent rotation guys who are just being asked to take on too much, so there will be a really nice Jay Huff game where he looks like a floor spacer, rim protector, beast, but he can't sustain it for more than, 4 or 5 days at a time. And Isaiah Jackson will look really switchy and, dunk on someone and have a moment, get a ton of stocks in a, primetime game. And then the next game he goes 0 for 4 from the field and isn't big enough to guard, some really big skilled centers that are lining up across from him in the East. So it's just a reminder that there are these fun sort of league pass guys that we enjoy, but when they're asked to move up 1 to 3 spots in the depth chart, it's just too much to ask. And we talk a lot about the top tier superstars and feeling bad for a guy like Giannis when years of his prime are going down the toilet on a really bad team or a really poor supporting cast. And just a tier 2 guy, Pascal Siakam, I feel for just playing the best basketball of his career. The way he played in the playoffs last year, he's just stranded on an island now. And even a player we adore, like Nemhard, I thought when he came back from injury this year, he might be able to really thrive with that usage.
Yeah.
It's been tough. He's been stretched thin. His efficiency isn't always there. Turnovers, have ebbed and flowed with him. So just a reminder that you can get these amazing playoff spurts from guys like Nemhard, McConnell, but they are not, guys who can really floor raise in the NBA regular season.
Yeah. And I'd say it's been sort of difficult trying to wrap my head around my preseason expectations versus how things have shaked out so far this year. I think the West has gone fairly close to what I expected coming into the year. The Clippers being the only exception as a team that I thought was going to push for a top 4 seed, and they're sort of down in the play-in mix. They have been playing a lot better recently, and Kawhi Leonard is playing one of the handful best players in the NBA for the last 10 games or so. So when he's playing like that and, they're a little bit more locked in on the defensive end, and it seems like whatever bad vibes were there early in the year, whether it was Chris Paul or Bradley Beal or just, general malaise from an old group, that seems to have kind of dissipated and they look like a real kind of playoff team again. Aside from that, you've got the top 6 in the West, which looks pretty cemented at this point. OKC, Houston, Denver is kind of slipping a bit because they're just so banged up. They're missing basically their entire starting lineup at this point for somewhat extended periods of time. The Lakers, who are, maybe one of the worst teams that has reached their record of whatever it is, 23-11 or something like that in NBA history.
They're even right now in point differential.
Yeah. And they've won twice as many games as they've lost, which is insane. But it also speaks to if you get into a close game with them, they've got Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, and just can make a bunch of tough shots and pull these games out. But they're going to be a top 6 team, I think. And then the Timberwolves, who are just, kind of steadily going along, and they're going to be a nightmare matchup for anyone in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're always around.
Yeah. Everyone's going to pick against them in the first round, and they're going to make it interesting and possibly win. And I'll probably pick against them in the first round because I always do. But
did you see that? Did you see that Rudy Gobert behind the back?
I did.
To the corner.
Yeah.
I just can't believe the Wolves have a top 5 offense in the league right now. We need to take them a little bit more seriously. What are
They
they
did
average? They're
that.
averaging like 120 a game.
Yeah, they did that last year too. Like they had a really good offense last year. They were eighth in offensive rating last year. Like they've got a lot of shooters. They space the floor well. They get out in transition. Like it makes some sense how good they are offensively, and then they've sort of been trying to figure out how to replace Mike Conley, and they've also, it seems like, just kind of been lazy against some mediocre teams, and they keep just losing to like Atlanta type teams, and then going and beating Oklahoma City, beating the Lakers, beating teams like that who are closer to the top of the standings. So they get up for the big games, but I mean, Edwards has been awesome, and I fully expect them to be right there once the playoffs get going. The East is where it's just totally blown up because the Cavs, every time that you feel ready to, buy them again as a team that's making a deep playoff run, they go and get their asses kicked by a team that bullies them. The Pistons look phenomenal. They just beat the Knicks by 30 last night and just kind of took their soul gradually over the course of the game and are just kind of
Without Duran, right?
without Duran. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to say Cade has something to say about your Halliburton being the best American right now.
He certainly does.
And Cade has to pull off some playoff miracles like Hallie, to cement himself in that place. And obviously, guys like Donovan Mitchell still have something to say, even though I know as a Knicks fan, you have zero faith in the Cavs. They're the least scary good team from your perspective.
A lot of faith in Mitchell, but no faith in the Cavs.
But Detroit infrastructure. I mean, Paul Reed, B-ball Paul on his night, like steps up, gets you a few stocks.
Yeah.
His jumper is disgusting and he's undersized for a 5, but he just finds a way. And Beef Stew still like playing really awesome defense, can score here and there, but really has just like found his way in the NBA as a defensive stopper and enforcer on that team. And then they've got all the wing athletes who, whether or not they're making shots, are doing winning stuff.
Yeah, and I mean the really upsetting thing is this Celtics season for me. They're first in the Eastern Conference in net rating, tied for second in record, third in the entire NBA in net rating right now, and as I said, losing 4 of their top 7 guys, have gotten better offensively. Their defense is good enough and are seemingly just mathing their way to the top of the Eastern Conference, along with, having very talented players and Derek White and Jaylen Brown and some of the guys that they've been able to bring in and draft on the margins. And we'll probably talk about them more in future episodes. But if this holds up, it's very upsetting for a lot of Eastern Conference teams who thought that the Celtics window at the top of the conference had closed and it was time for them to all take steps into that void. And if Boston's going to be this good without Jason Tatum, and whether or not he comes back this year, you add Tatum into this team next year, and then whatever Brad Stevens is able to cook up with his added flexibility from getting off some of these larger long-term contracts, if they bring in a big man, they bring in some more shooting, like it's still going to be a scary team for a while because Tatum and Brown are in their late 20s at this point. Like they've still got a lot of runway left. And
I believe in some of these role players. I mean, I never shut up about Pritchard. Like I think Pritchard is a real dude who could have a Fred VanVleet type 2019 moment in the playoffs. Maybe not on this team because I still believe there is a hard ceiling without Tatum. But like Keita is really good. I think he's a starting caliber center. Not elite, but just that perfect sweet spot of if you're not going to have a prime Embiid or Jokic, like that's the kind of center you want. And Jordan Walsh is a dude. He and Josh Minot have kind of taken turns feeling it, and they've been sort of alternating roles. But I like those guys. Baylor Shireman's really struggled to find his place in the rotation, but I liked him at Creighton a lot as a prospect, and they're just a lot of positive. Hugo Gonzalez flying around. It's just a feel-good team, a feel-awful team if you're anyone outside Boston. Like Bill Simmons can't contain himself. I saw him ranting about Jaylen Brown on like my feed.
He called him a top 6 player today.
He said he's the best mid-range shooter in the world right now. He couldn't even say the word. But yeah, they are really good. They're last in the league in free throw attempts per game. Mm-hmm. Second in the league in made threes after the Warriors, which is also interesting because a lot of great Steph teams have famously been surprisingly reliant on mid-range shots.
Yeah.
And like outside of Steph and Clay, not launching a ton of threes, but this year it's a new age Warriors. They're taking a lot of threes. But yeah, Boston, unsurprisingly, they don't have a lot of guys who are getting to the rim at will. But they just have mastered that modern blenderizing offense. And it's been a prove it year for guys like Jaylen Brown and Derek White saying like, yeah, we can be 1 and 2 instead of 2 and 3. And yeah, I think that this is more of a regular season stalwart than a bona fide contender, but the advanced numbers would tell you otherwise.
Yeah. And the difference between the Celtics and the Warriors with taking all those threes and why the Celtics have been so much more successful is the Warriors turn it over a lot more and they rebound it a lot less.
Yeah.
And so you're just, the Celtics take care of the ball really well. They rebound it really well. And that gives them an opportunity to jack up even more threes and get like even more advantage on the margins from controlling the number of possessions that they get in the game versus their opponent. And the Warriors, meanwhile, are kind of frittering possessions away, even though I still think they'll be a playoff team. But yeah, that's kind of mentally where I'm at with the season. I think the most interesting things sort of going forward, I want to see if the Spurs kind of just keep watching the Spurs and trying to get a feel for exactly how good they are. I had been looking forward to the Thunder pushing that 73 win mark, which now they're already at 7 losses. That seems unlikely.
That de-escalated quickly.
Yeah, it took a week. That's the thing with all-time records is like you have a bad week and it's over.
Yeah. To your point, last thing on the Celtics turnovers, like there are a lot of teams around the league, and I just thought of this because you mentioned the Thunder, who would kill to have 2 maestro table setters like Derek White and Peyton Pritchard. Mm-hmm. The Thunder have the emergence of AJ Mitchell, but they kind of lack that pure point guardness. And like my team, the Blazers, we're praying Scoot comes back sometime this decade. But just having that ball handling and that selflessness at the head of the snake is so important. I think like the Knicks right now is with their offense stuck in mud could use as much of that energy as possible. But yeah, the West, we've got Thunder 30-7, Spurs 25-10. NBA.com power rankings has the Spurs at number 1, which I just find appalling, but whatever. Gotta sell the content. The Nuggets are 24-12. Christian Brown is back in the fold. Rockets 22-11. I don't think they're going to keep shooting the 3 like they have, but I just kind of believe in their competitiveness and the depth. I can't take a complete victory lap on the LA team stuff because in one of our last episodes, I think it was with Brett Usher, I was just shitting on the Lakers and building up the Clips, but it was low hanging fruit. Like the Lakers had a really bad point differential for the record and body language worst in the league, and the Clippers had just played so badly it was unfathomable at the time. But I said it before the season. DeAndre Ayton is engineered in a lab to make JJ Redick rip his hair out, and that time has arrived.
Yep. Couldn't say anything more. I think they need to make a trade, I think, to get to their ultimate ceiling. But yeah, going back to your ball handling piece, and then we can get to the rookies. That's definitely something I've noticed this year with just some of the teams around the league kind of picking up on what OKC did last year, what the Pacers did last year in terms of pressuring the ball, making guys really prove that they can handle it. And the teams that have a lot of ball handling are able to kind of weather that storm and still get their drive game going like the Pacers were able to last year. And they were sort of able to give OKC a lot of problems because of that, because they had 4 guys who could drive a closeout really effectively. As you said, with teams like the Knicks, They kind of have, Brunson's a good ball handler, Kolick's a good ball handler, Clarkson's a good ball handler, but it's not really sustainable to play all those three guys together all the time. And then once the ball gets swung to OG or McHale, like those guys aren't as comfortable handling against really heavy pressure and beating guys off the dribble. And something that's made the Spurs so dangerous is they have that trio of ball handlers in Castle, Fox, and Harper who can beat anyone in the NBA off the dribble. So it seems like that's kind of the wave of the future, getting more guys who can handle the ball and just kind of make the defense collapse by getting into the paint. And yeah, this rookie class has some of those, which has been cool to see. We mentioned, or I just mentioned Dylan Harper as one of them, but that's the one sort of theme that stuck out to me is from this season is like size and ball handling being sort of more important than they ever have been.
Yeah, and I think LeBron said this in one of his recent pods, but also you've got to be able to blenderize on offense. And you can't have one trick ponies, 3-and-D players. Like even that has become a problem for some of the best teams. I mean, the Thunder recently, I think a lot of their struggles have to do with the fact that Lou Dort has one option. It's shoot, the spot up three because he can't finish at the rim over decent NBA defenders. And when he puts it on the deck, it's, a bit of a circus. So the Thunder are around 20th in free throw attempts per game. I think a lot of that has to do with like when the ball isn't in Shea or J-Dub's hands. And I still think J-Dub's getting a shitty whistle. There just is not a ton of offensive versatility. And that's Caruso, that's Cason Wallace, who I still love and believe has way more of an offensive ceiling than the other guys in this conversation. But Caruso, Cason, Dort, Isaiah Joe, like a lot of these guys have been reduced to 3-and-D. And, when it's nut crunching time and things slow down and it looks a little stale like it did against Denver last year, it just really helps to have more free flowing, like no one is clogging the offense. Everyone has an opportunity to make something happen, bang a body, get a whistle. Like look at the Pistons, who don't have the most shooting in the world, but even guys like Asar and Ron Holland like are driving with reckless abandon. So it's not even all about, having a couple stars and some 3-and-D beasts around them now. Like you really want dudes who can attack space and punish teams for sagging off in ways other than making threes, because 3-point variance will always be a factor.
Yeah. All right, let's do some rookies.
All right, so we are going to go down this 2025 actual draft results and talk about where we had guys on our boards, what they've shown or not been able to show so far, and maybe a thing or two on, the teams involved. So you want to start us off with Cooper Flagg?
Yeah, Cooper Flagg. Probably the co-front runner for Rookie of the Year right now. It's him and Con Knipple as kind of the two ahead of what's been a really strong rookie class, especially I think it has a chance to be a really special top four with those two guys and then Harper and VJ. But Cooper Flagg, I'd say so far has probably lived up to the hype as a number one pick. I think he's in a really tough offensive situation, which has led to some kind of efficiency struggles for him. But I'm still loving my pre-draft comp for him of Pascal Siakam, sort of as like a realistic, not floor, but sort of middle outcome for him. And yeah, he's just good at everything. He's not amazing he's not an A+ maybe at any one thing, except I'd say effort and kind of mental approach. But he's at least an A- or a B+ in pretty much every category. The shooting will need to come along, but the sort of spacing environment that he's in has made it a little bit tough for him to get to the rim as much as would be ideal. But he just does everything well, and I've liked what I've seen from him. I think he's still going to be a multi-time All-Star, and I would take him number one overall again.
There are always going to be the late bloomer freaks like Jokic and Shea who come out of relative nowhere and, put their name in the hat for best player in the world. But I think Cooper Flag is a clean cut, like could be the best player in the world at some point in the next handful of years. Like I think he's shown enough.
Mm.
He's looked the part. He shot like 52% in December. And he's not making threes yet, but he was like 52, 33, 81 in December. Even in November, I think he shot like 48% from the field. It was just like his first couple weeks in the league that he was really struggling. Unsurprisingly, they had him at point guard, just asking him to do way too much. But I'm just astounded by his understanding of the geometry of NBA defenses. Like there's so much nuance to his driving game. And I think he's such a good passer that he just has so many tools to fall back on as he figures out the long range touch. I mean, 19.4 points, 6.4 boards, 4 assists. And the funniest part is that he's been like the stabilizer for this Dallas team as a rookie, because AD is always in and out. And he just turned 19. He's the youngest player in the NBA. He looks like he's going to be able to put on so much more weight than a frame like KD's, even though KD's got a few inches on him. But there's just like a sort of young KD-ness to how physical and how successfully he drives against NBA athletes, even looking like a skinny young kid. I looked back at 2004 LeBron, and I'm not comparing Cooper Flag to LeBron, but it's worth noting that LeBron was a year older than Coop as a rookie. I didn't realize LeBron came 9th in MVP voting as a rookie, which is pretty insane. But LeBron, with less help than Flag has had this year, shot 42% from the field, 29% from three, but he was 21 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, and a steal and a half as a 19-year-old. This is very, very rare stuff that he's doing at his age. I just want to plug that because there have been more surprises, like how insanely good Con Knipple is right away, how electric Dylan Harper looks like he's going to be, VJ Edgecombe contributing to winning as a rookie, being a bright spot in a dark phase for Philly. But Flag has been the best rookie. Probably Con, actually. Just statistically, it's probably been Con.
Yeah.
But I just think Coop is so special. I really believe he is Siakam with great vision, which is just one of the best players on earth. So, we just needed to start there. He was number one on everyone's board for a reason. Yeah. All right, Dylan Harper.
Yeah, a little slow getting on the scene due to injury, but just already looks like a special guard prospect. Similar to Cooper, the shot still needs to come along. I feel like whenever I watch him, he hits 40% of his threes, but somehow his 3-point percentage is 27. But his ability to just get to the rim anytime he wants is crazy. I wasn't low on him because I still had him too, but I had him sort of in the same group with Edgecombe and Knipple as prospects. Like I thought any one of those guys could have been justified taking them at 2. And the one thing that kind of gave me a little bit of pause with Harper in college is his seeming kind of nonchalance on the court. And I think what I mistook for nonchalance was just effortlessness. And he's in transitioning to the NBA still had that kind of smooth, effortless feel to a lot of his drives, just the way that he plays. And I think that sort of concern has been put to bed already for me of him being kind of a little too blasé on the basketball court. But if the 3-point shot comes around, he's going to be an absolutely special player. I comped him to lefty Cade Cunningham coming out of college. He's not quite as stocky as Cade is, and Cade's put on a ton of weight since coming into the league as well. But
he's got a little more athletic pop than Cade too.
Yeah, he does. But go ahead.
Yeah, he has like a 2.5 assist to turnover ratio right now. To your point, like there is a wildness to his slash game, and he and Castle are the slash brothers. But for a slasher who's this athletic and this physical, he's super efficient for a rookie. Like outside of the 3-point shooting, he looks good from 2. He looks confident finishing, which often takes even the most talented young guards some time to figure out. Just super impressed by him. I would love to see what he could do with like just a little bit more responsibility. And yet
Hmm.
I love that he's learning to fit into something bigger and that he can kind of take his time just to ramp up the usage.
Yeah.
I I talked shit about, extending De'Aaron Fox, but I can't say anything but bravo to San Antonio with the way things have gone the first couple months of the season.
And it's really impressive that as a rookie on one of the best teams in the league, they're better when he's on the court
Yep.
as a bench guy, which is, most rookies, that's not the case. But I bet I haven't looked for all of these top four. I would bet for all of them that their teams are better when they're on the court, which speaks to kind of how
Yeah.
special this top of the class is. But yeah, and especially seeing him in that Spurs jersey, and this is like the highest compliment I can give, but he gives me sort of that Manu vibe with his sort of slitheriness and his ability to just be so like improvisational and creative on his drives and also in some of the passing angles that he sees. I'm really excited to watch him kind of develop I wouldn't say it's not a low stakes environment in terms of the expectations of the team, but it is kind of a low stakes environment in that he doesn't have to shoulder a ton of offensive burden with the other guys who are on that team between Fox and Castle. And he's really able to just like pick his spots for when he really wants to try to take over games. And he's been really fun to watch to do that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's always really impressive to see a guy scale down. He
Hmm.
ran the show at Rutgers. Like you said, the fact that he's contributing to winning, shooting 27% and playing off the ball is super impressive. He knows when it's his opportunity to grab and go and just run by dudes and finish in transition. But as a cutter, as a mid-range scorer, he's got a little bit of that Brunson lefty like bump and find some space. He's super impressive. Now we've got
VJ.
VJ Valdez Edgecombe.
Yeah. What's the full name? We were having a debate of whether it's the best name in American sports right now.
Valdez Jr. Edgecombe, I believe.
The middle name, I think, adds to it.
Oh no, it's way better. It's Valdez Drexel Edgecombe Jr.
Yeah. Uh, I really flirted for a long time with having VJ number two on my board. I think the first game I watched of his was like the best game he played all year. And often when that happens, it can stick in your mind. And, they say the first impression is the strongest. It's led me astray in the past with Johnny Davis, for instance, of his best game being the first one I watched. But
Yeah. And a similar archetype.
yeah, but what differentiates Edgecombe is just the top tier athleticism, the defense, and the more reliable 3-point shot. And I ended up having him four on my board, but as I said, I had Harper, Knipple, Edgecombe all really close together. My favorite comps for him were Oladipo and Donovan Mitchell ceiling, and then kind of a floor of just like a strong 3-and-D guard. And what's crazy is his stats look identical to rookie Dwayne Wade. If you look across the board, it's pretty much the same. He's still at 39% on threes, which was a question coming out of school of if his shooting improvement at the end of his college freshman season was going to carry over or not. It seems like it has, even after sort of cooling down from his super hot start to the year. He's been one of the best clutch scorers in the league so far, and the athleticism just continues to jump off the screen. So Sixers fans, I think, should be really excited about this backcourt that they have with Maxey and Edgecombe as kind of like a Sonic and Knuckles or whatever of the NBA, with the speed of Maxey and just the power of Edgecombe. My one critique is I'd like to see him taking more free throws and getting fouled more often. He's only taking 2 free throws per game, which that's a big difference between him and early career Dwayne Wade at this point, is their ability to get to the line. And that's kind of how Dwayne Wade made a living early in his career, was getting to the foul line. But he's just been so good, and the defense has translated. He was shutting down Jalen Brunson the other night. He's such an impressive player, and would bet on him being a multi-time All-Star as well, along with the top 2 guys in this class.
For sure. We both ended up with him at 4, but I was a little lower on his ceiling. I thought you were a little carried away, saying names like Donovan Mitchell. And here we are. Tony Jones, who covered the Jazz for a while, said he hasn't seen a rookie contribute to winning at this level since rookie Donovan Mitchell in Utah. He's been amazing. He's the type of guy every fan wants on their team. He's got some Josh Hart. He's got some Cason Wallace on defense. And I think the rim attempts, the free throws are just going to continue to rise because he plays with so much physicality. And the shooting is a work in progress, but the fact that he shoots the crunch time one so confidently makes me believe that he's going to be a really good shooter in time. So, yeah.
All right, Con.
What is there to say? I mean, this dude is just putting up some absolutely stupid numbers right now. Con Knippel is making 3.6 threes a game, shooting 44%. He is 48, 44, 88, 20 points, 5 boards, 3.5 assists, and is getting into the paint. He's taking 3 free throws a game. He looks strong. He's all the stuff he can do playing off 2 feet in the paint sort of neutralizes defenses and gives him this huge boost, which he needs, obviously, with his lack of verticality as a finisher. His craft is off the charts. I've been saying for a long time on this pod that there will be, a Steph, Dame, model breaking shooter at some point. It's just going to happen. And he is officially number 1 on the list of candidates. Who knows what the next few years of Con development look like, but my conviction has never been greater. This is just unbelievable rookie stuff. And he also looked like a 30-year-old superstar vet last night in Oklahoma City, just calming them down when the Thunder would make their mini runs and kept thinking that the tides would turn. And there's Con Knippel at 6'6", just bodying grown men and shooting the purest of threes.
Yeah. And what makes these all-time great shooters special is not just their ability to make threes, but their ability to generate a lot of threes. And maybe just lining balls up in a gym, JJ Redick or someone is the best shooter of all time. But what makes guys like Steph and Clay, and JJ Redick generated a high volume of threes to be sure, but maybe Jason Capono would be like a better example. But guys like Steph and Clay and Dame, what makes them so special is their ability to get up a high number of threes every game. And Con's getting up 8 threes a game and making 44% of them. For rookies, that's insane. And he's just got such great feel for, off an offensive rebound when his defender's not looking at him, just drifting a little bit into a spot where he's going to be open. Or when a guy's closing out wildly at him, he gives him the pump fake and the side step into an open 3. For a guy who's, he's not going to generate his threes off crazy ball handling and screen manipulation in the way that Steph does, but he's got just all the nuances of off-ball movement to get himself open, and also has plenty good ball handling ability, and is great as a passer. So yeah, I had him 3 on my board. In my opinion, he's still the rookie of the year front runner just with his efficiency. I kind of have that as the differentiator between him and Flag. And his defensively, he's been better than I expected him to be.
Yeah.
When he's been a real player for the Hornets, and he's I struggle with who I want to comp him to. He's kind of like a bigger, stronger Austin Reeves a little bit. He's got some Chris Middleton to him.
Clay Middleton.
That's a good one. And yeah, again, I think he's going to be a multi-time All-Star. And yeah, that OKC game last night was so impressive. In the third quarter, OKC was all right, let's kind of lock in a little bit, and they cut into the lead. They got it down to 16 from 24 or whatever. And then Con just, calmly hits a sidestep 3 off an offensive rebound to kind of shut the run down. And yeah, Charlotte did well to get him. And I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do with the rest of their team. LaMelo and him and Brandon Miller, when they've been together, has been a solid pairing. They've won the minutes that those 3 guys have played together. So maybe that's something to build on if you can just get a defensive forces at the 4 and 5 because their defense is still really bad, but offensively they can be pretty dynamic on their night, and Khan is a major driver of that.
I keep watching the Hornets thinking that Khan is going to come back to earth just a little bit and have his like welcome to the NBA moment. And it feels like star NBA opponents are having their welcome to Khan Knipple moment.
Yeah.
He has that Clay just silencer dagger propensity, whatever 2K badge that is. He's just got it. And like you said, he's finding little pockets of space, and the shot is just phone booth beauty.
We're getting a game 6 Khan at some point.
Yeah.
And I think
100%.
we're probably going to look back in like 5 to 10 years at that Khan and Flag Duke team and wonder how they didn't win the national championship, because that's going to be one of the best freshman duos we've ever seen.
Yes, sir. And now we are pick number 5, the first pick from the 25 draft. So far, we're not closing the book on Ace Bailey, but obviously I was a bit of an Ace Bailey hater. I think I had him. Let me check my board. I had Ace Bailey at 17. I was scared to bet on some of the sound bites. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And the shot selection. I just doubted his willingness to scale down and be the guy that he would at least need to be early in the NBA. Any thoughts on Ace so far?
Yeah, and admittedly have not been as locked into the Jazz as I have some of the other teams on this list, but I had him at 7, so higher than you, but still lower than consensus. He's predictably struggled with efficiency to this point in his career. He was not a super efficient offensive player in college, and in the NBA that has not gotten better. The one thing that is interesting, digging into some of the tracking data, is almost 80% of his shots are coming off of 0 or 1 dribbles, which I think is good. And when he was drafted to Utah, I thought that was kind of the best place for him to go of the teams in the top 10, just because it would be the one place where he would have the freedom to kind of play through his mistakes because they weren't really playing for anything. But also they had like a decent organizational infrastructure. They had a coach who I really like in Will Hardy, and he would sort of keep him on the tracks and not let him go into like crazy 5 dribble step back mode all the time. And to this point, the stats back that up in terms of that number I mentioned of how many of his shots are coming off 0-1 dribbles. He's shooting a high volume of threes. He's shooting okay on them. So I'd say it's kind of too soon to tell. When I was scouting him, I sort of thought if he devotes himself to being like Nuggets Michael Porter Jr. or Rashard Lewis, kind of like an off-ball weapon who's this like big guy who can get his 3-point shot off whenever he wants and sort of be a quick scoring threat that way, he's going to have a long, successful NBA career. But if he tries to be like Tracy McGrady, he's going to flame out. So I think to this point,
and he's certain that he's Tracy McGrady.
Yeah.
And his son, like, he's the kind of guy who was taking heat checks in college when he wasn't even hot. You know, like first possession of the game, why do you think it's okay to chuck this, mid-range contested by 4 players, with 24 seconds on the shot clock? And I doubt his long-term ability to fit into a system. But the talent is undeniable.
Yeah. So too soon to tell. I continue to like where he ended up. But to this point, I'd say the Jazz definitely wish they'd gotten into that top 4 instead of falling to 5.
Yep. All right. We're going to have to speed up and rapid fire these guys, but not yet. Sorry. I was looking at 6 on my board, which is CMB. So I was ready to start waxing lyrical, but actually, yeah, the 6th pick in reality this year was Trey Johnson.
Yeah.
Who I don't have a ton to say on him other than he just looks like an absolute bucket. He kind of looks like exactly probably what consensus was on him. Mm-hmm. Where was he on my board? I think I was a little bit low. Yeah, I had him at 8.
Yeah, I had him at 6.
Yeah.
Went 6. He's an elite shooter. He's been an elite shooter from day one. There's a bunch of clips floating around, which I thought were like digitally altered of how far away he's shooting some of his threes from. But yeah, high volume, high efficiency shooter. I worry a little bit about his upside as a like creator on offense because he's not a guy who really gets to the rim and scores that way. He's kind of purely a jump shooter in the mold of like Tyler Hero or on the high end, kind of prime Bradley Beal. But he's gonna have a long NBA career just as a guy who can shoot a ton of threes and make a ton of threes. So I think he's exactly what the Wizards expected when they picked him. He's not like a guy I would bet on to be a multi-time All-Star in the future. He could like sneak onto one team and I'm sure he'll have some years scoring 20 plus points a game. He kind of feels like Tyler Hero to me, sort of that type of player. But yeah, he's been about what I expected to this point.
Same. And there will always be a place for a lights out shooter like that. Even if I agree with you, the upside is limited. Number 7. The New Orleans Pelicans took Jeremiah Fears.
Yeah.
He's another guy that I was just obnoxiously low on. I had Fears at 26.
Okay. And I had him 17, so we were both pretty low on him.
Yeah, we were both not drafting him. And, you know, he's had some really nice flashes. The dude has a bag. Whatever comes of his NBA career, he will produce a really sick, like Brandon Jennings-esque highlight tape. And, you know, Ball Don't Stop will be posting clips about him in a decade. Like, you know, why didn't he get a chance? He's a Hall of Fame talent. The efficiency has been okay. The turnovers have, you know, also been an issue at moments for him. But overall, I think this is as well as you could have expected things to go for him. 37 games in, averaging 14 and a half, 3.5, three assists, 44, 34, 78 shooting. I struggle to see his value because he looks like he's going to be one of the worst defenders in the NBA as he looked at Oklahoma. But these small guards who are just uber skilled and, you know, get into the paint with quickness and handle and guile and change of speeds, can find their place in, you know, like contender rotation. So I'm not writing him off, but I continue to think that at 7, he was a massive reach.
Yeah. And we're seeing even like a guy like Bones Highland getting back into the rotation for the Timberwolves as a good NBA team. And I certainly like Fears more than I like Bones. I'd say the handle, the wiggle, the speed, those have all translated, which were, you could just watch it in college. And his tape was so fun to watch at Oklahoma just because of all of those factors. He's still super young and guards take a while. We've seen this with De'Aaron Fox, Jaden Ivey, some of these, especially like young athletic guards, hopefully Scoot Henderson, take a while to, you know, pan out in the NBA. And the fact that his athletic traits have translated as well as they have and better than I expected is impressive and, you know, a good sign. But I think it's going to come down to the 3-point shot. And if he's a dead eye shooter, he's going to be really good, I think, long term, just because the threat of his speed is going to keep teams off balance. And if he can develop that sort of, you know, the combo that few guys have of being able to punish teams from 3 and beat anyone in the league off the dribble. It's a short list. It's like Tyrese Maxey, De'Aaron Fox has kind of gotten there a little bit. If he can get to that point, he's going to be awesome. But without the 3-point shot, I worry that the efficiency is just never quite going to be there. And the defense is going to be so damaging that you're not going to be able to survive with him. But he's been better than I've expected to this point, and I think has been a solid pick.
Look at Trae Young. You can be a wizard with the basketball in your hands, and nobody in the league wants you on their team at the price that it requires. So I think there needs to be a big correction in the NBA. Like guys like Trae Young, I guess early Trae Young was doing so much for that team and was so clutch for them and obviously put butts in seats. But like, guys like Jeremiah Fears tend to be overpaid and they're just so few success stories. So like taking him in the late first, which is like the grade I had on him, would have made sense, but top 7 just to me felt like a mistake. As did the next guy. I had Yegor Demin at 21 and the Nets took him at 8. And this is just similar, like point guards who I don't think are going to be great on defense and struggled to make threes in college are just really concern me.
Hmm.
However, Yegor looks a little bit more like the Tyrese Maxey situation where the shot looks pretty good in college, but it doesn't go in. And he's nothing like Tyrese Maxey, but he looks like a pure shooter.
Yeah.
It's become a bit of a meme how little he, takes and makes twos. But I think you got to be pretty happy as a Nets fan so far that his outside shot looks this good and he's still a 6'9" elite passer.
Yeah, he takes twice as many threes as he does twos, which is probably not what you want for a player of his sort of physical archetype. And I had him at 18, so I was lower on him as well because of kind of his lack of scoring punch and rim pressure. And I was worried about his outside shooting, which to this point, as you said, has looked good. The inside the arc stuff has been as concerning as I thought, where he's kind of not beating guys off the dribble and getting into the paint and sort of creating advantages that way. And he's shooting 39% from the field overall, which is in large part because he's mostly taking threes. I, it's tough. It's just tough to be a guy like his size, and defenders don't respect his drive at all and his ability to kind of get into the paint and punish them there. He's kind of going to have to go to the Josh Giddey school of learning how to score over smaller guys inside the arc without beating them off the dribble on like little floaters and push shots and things like that. And Giddey was one of my comps for him coming out. It's kind of like a high end outcome. Could also be kind of a worse shooting Lonzo Ball, although I don't think he's quite that like, transcendent level of passer. He's a very, very good passer though. But yeah, it's a weird Brooklyn team with a lot of the guys that they picked, and we'll sort of touch on all of them briefly. But he's, I'd say, been a little bit better than I expected because the shooting has been better. But a lot of my concerns still stand about him in terms of getting into the paint and making defenses pay in ways other than just leaving him wide open from three.
Yeah, if he's an upper 30s 3-point shooter at 6'8", like the floor is higher than I expected.
Yeah.
I had a concern that just the floor was the absolute basement with him if the shot didn't work out. But yeah, the fact that he's shooting 37% on 6 attempts a game makes me think that there is definitely a place for him long term. It's just a question of whether he'll be able to activate his frankly transcendent passing, which, like you said, if you can't get into the paint with your dribble, the world isn't going to be able to see how much of a genius passer he really is.
Yeah. All right. Colin Murray-Boyles, 9th pick to the Toronto Raptors. I had him 5. You had him
6.
6.
Oh my God, dude. Just a plug and play beast.
Yeah.
You want him to play forward? Great. You want him to play center? Even better. That's where I think he's most special long term. Obviously, he just scored 17 in Toronto's win over Atlanta, which is just a beautiful snapshot of like his willingness to do the dirty work until like Pirtle gets hurt and Mamu is not quite a 5, even though they tried him at the 5 for a little while here. They finally put CMB as the starting 5, and he just absolutely dominated last night. 5 stocks, some great passes. There was one play where he was like amongst the trees under the basket and just threw this crazy, like eyes on the back of his head, whip around pass to a guy behind him with his strong hand. I love this player. I know how much of a cliche the Draymond comp is, but I said this when we had Stephen Glaspie on the pod. Like, I think this is the most Draymondian prospect to enter the league in several years. And if I were the Raptors long term, as much as I respect Pirtle, like I would want to ride with CMB at the 5, especially because they have so much positional size around him. I think they can make it work. And like the shooting would just be a cherry on top if he figures it out. But the switchability, the strength, which continues to just be like a super underrated trait to get you minutes early in the NBA. Look at Sion James in Charlotte. These guys who just enter the league able to carve out space against other grown men is so key. And I'm in love with CMB's game.
Yeah, I Loved him in college as just a guy who would stuff the stat sheet, and he was so versatile defensively. He would be hold up in the post well. He could guard 1 through 5 on switches, very nimble for his size, and yet still very strong as well. Not like a guy who could be bullied. And yeah, I just want to see him get more minutes. He's trending up recently, and per 36, he stuffs the stat sheet in terms of points, rebounds, assists, stocks, and yeah, his offense outside the paint is still very much a work in progress. He's kind of just an around the basket finisher from a scoring perspective right now. The shooting has been a little bit better than expected, but it's super low volume, so kind of hard to buy into at this point. But yeah, still believe in him and just want to see him continue to get opportunities and excel, because I think he's going to be really good. And agree with the Draymond comp. It's sacrilege to compare people to Hall of Famers, but especially guys who are picked like, outside of the top 3. But I like that comp, and I agree.
And Draymond was, a late first round pick. It's like CMB showed more NBA traits as a prospect than Draymond did. But obviously, chances are he's not going to be one of the all-time basketball geniuses and augmenters of superstars like Draymond was. But I'm excited to find out. Number 10, Malowach has barely played. We don't need to say anything about him. If I were a Phoenix fan, I'd at least point to the fact that he's 7 of 8 from the free throw line in his 60 minutes as an NBA player. That's auspicious, but jury's out on Malowach.
Yeah, I just still don't understand why they drafted him if they knew they were trading for Mark Williams. Because Mark Williams has been really good for them, and he's also very young. So if you're gonna trade for him, draft someone else.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't know why the Mavs traded for Anthony Davis, obviously, but it does strike me as maybe they just believe they can get 48 minutes of awesome center play the way the Mavs had Lively and Gafford for a second there before they destroyed the franchise. Even though, it was all about the vision of getting the number 1 pick. But yeah, maybe they just think long-term. Mark Williams medicals have been a concern, obviously going back to the Dalton Connect trade last year. I understand wanting some front court depth, but I do not think Malowach was a good pick at 10. I had him at 15, and this was the spot where I thought if you were taking a center, you should take Baron J. The Timberwolf, who has also barely played, so we're probably not going to talk about him much. Number 11, Cedric Coward. What is there to say? Come on, we've done this enough. I had my 5 seconds of fame before receding back into obscurity, the dad in Parasite. But Cedric Coward, I had him at 5. The rookie scoring pop is real. What is he at, 14 points a game right now? He is currently out with a left ankle sprain, which is brutal for a Memphis team that needs every functional NBA player it can find right now. But when he's been healthy, first off, he looks massive. He looks like a huge NBA wing. And his shot is pure. The ball handling is a bit of an adventure. And that's going to be, I think, the swing skill for him. Is he just a really nice, 5th starter 3-and-D guy, or is he a star, which he clearly has the physical tools to become a star if he can just get a little more comfortable creating shots on his own. But yeah, maybe he's just going to be a 1-2-3 dribble guy who's super efficient and is a really good defender in time. And if that's the case, his path is clear. Just, defend like your life depends on it, and punish rotations with straight line drives. But I continue to think the ceiling is way higher. Yeah,
he's looking like a good 3-and-D wing at worst, and I think possible all-star upside if he can sort of develop his handle to a point where he can score effectively that way. But yeah, the shot looks like butter. The percentage has gone down recently, but I fully buy that going forward. And yeah, I think Memphis getting all those assets for Bane and then drafting this guy in is a win for them, no matter how this year goes. And they're kind of in a retool. Maybe it would have been better if they'd kept Bane and gotten a bunch of assets for Ja or something like that. But regardless, Coward, Jaren, Edie looks like a solid player. They've got some stuff.
Edie looks awesome. Edie, he just can't stay healthy, but when he's on the court, I'm a huge fan. Edie has surpassed my expectations for sure.
Yeah. All right. Noah Asenge at number 12. I had him 25.
Season ender. He had a
He's
season
barely
ending.
played.
Yeah.
He hasn't scored a point.
He had a season ending shoulder injury.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was a labrum or what, but he's out. Neither of us loved him, but he'll get a chance to prove his worth next year. Number 13 was Derek Queen.
We talked about him a ton with Brett Usher, but
yeah.
We can go very quick. He's probably my biggest whiff so far because I had him at 19. I just didn't really see it, and he looks really special offensively, playmaking, ball handling for his size, and is kind of the lone bright spot in New Orleans this year. Or not the lone, but the biggest.
Yeah, he just looks so crafty, creating advantages from the elbow on short rolls. The big development marker for him will just be whether the defense becomes consistent enough to, keep him on the floor as your 5 in tight games. But I can see a world even where he has like a bodyguard 5 with him and he's still really productive. And he might even figure out the 3-point shot, but like it doesn't even matter when you're as skilled as he is.
Yeah.
Carter Bryant, he's barely played. He's looked very limited offensively. I think he's on this surprising contender, and guys like Champagny, who we should talk about the Champagny twins at some point because both of them are really good. But guys like Champagny, Harrison Barnes with a crazy renaissance year, Keldon Johnson playing really well. I just think the minutes that I thought Carter Bryant might be able to steal as a rookie have gone to these more confident, more polished vets. But I was a huge Carter Bryant believer. I thought he might have a chance to show a little more early. But we're not selling yet. I had him at 7.
Yeah, I had him at 10. And what I said in terms of low stakes for Dylan Harper doesn't apply to Carter Bryant because you kind of have to get to a certain level of production to crack into the rotation. And then once you're there, there's not as much load on you to create. But
yeah,
he when he gets in, he can make rookie mistakes. He's a young guy. I think he looks younger than he is. He's 20. Yeah. He looks like he's about 14. But
he's got a 14-year-old head on a man's body.
Yeah. But not passing any judgments until next year, probably.
I think it's incredibly exciting for San Antonio that they're already this good, and a really talented 3-and-D prospect hasn't even gotten a chance to show his talents. But 15, Thomas Sorber.
Rip.
Obviously, was it ACL?
Yep.
Yeah, ACL. Genuinely might have contributed to this Thunder team. He's so skilled and smart, and you and I were both pretty high on him, right? I had Sorber at 11.
Same.
Super bummed he isn't getting a chance to contribute to winning on that team.
Yeah, me too. And it also, I loved him as like a potential Hartenstein replacement down the line.
Yeah.
And now him being hurt probably just means that Hartenstein's going to stick around a little bit longer anyways.
If they can pay him, right?
They'll have to figure out something.
It might actually be impossible. I think it has to be that he takes a massive pay cut because they can't pay him what the market will pay him.
It will require him taking a little bit of a cut, and then probably them getting rid of Joe, maybe Dort, and then it can be done. But now it becomes more imperative that it gets done, as opposed to if you had a rookie year out of Sorber where you could see if he's ready to be that guy, then you have a little bit more leverage. Now it's all on Hartenstein's side.
This gets into the dumb apron stuff where we got to let Sam Presti cook. Right now it's like putting IKEA furniture together with oven mitts on. It's not quite cooking that is allowed right now in NBA team building. And I feel for them because they got Wiggins and Joe on these amazing role player contracts. And like you said, they're probably going to atrophy around the edges trying to keep their best players in town.
Yeah.
16, Young Hansen Young. I'm still genuinely not sure which way his name goes.
He hasn't played enough to sort it out.
He's really big. Everything's okay. No, he looks like he's very far away. And he doesn't look like he moves well enough to play in the NBA in 2026. And, I know there's room for lumbering big guys who look more like centers from a few years past, but he doesn't move like Zach Edey. Like he's very slow footed on defense. And he's not ready to be the offensive hub that is kind of his shiny prospect trait. And so, when you can't do the dirty work, it's just going to be hard to find minutes. But, also has barely played. So I'm not going to roast Young. I just feel like an idiot because I did say before the season that he had shown enough in summer league that like I couldn't despise the front office for it. And here we are. It's scary hours. But we need to see.
Yeah.
17, Baron J. He has also barely played. If he's played a lot of minutes, I haven't seen them.
No, he's barely played. Had a great summer league. A lot of bigs to fight through on this team. So he's basically a stash. But I love the fact that he's learning under Rudy because they're very similar.
Love it. And I love Baron J's fits. There were a couple games he was injured recently, and he just had like the sickest, like gold tracksuit, green pants. He has style. I mean, he's a handsome French stallion. Looks like a track runner who just happens to be 7 feet tall. Still one of the best movers at that size I've ever seen. 18, Walter Clayton, drafted by the Wizards, traded to Utah. I still think, despite the incredible run that Keontae George is on, I still have a feeling Walter Clayton Jr. will have the best NBA career of any guard prospect in Utah. And I know that's crazy because Keontae's like an offensive star right now for them. I love Walter Clayton.
Yeah, I haven't been super locked into the Jazz, but there's a lot of guards to fight through there. When I have seen him, I've liked what I've seen. His percentages are a little low. You'd like him to be a little bit more efficient. But I think they have like 5 guys who profile as similar level guards in the NBA. So I'd like to see him get a little bit more run. But I had him 16, loved him coming out. And yeah,
he's so creative. He's so creative. I just love the way that he accelerates, the way he stops on a dime. I like the fact that he's strong. Yeah, like I think worst case, he's going to end up as a Pritch type guy. Like I know that sounds crazy because Pritch is really good, but I just think Walter Clayton will find a way to make a ton of money in the NBA and be a winning player. All right, 19, Nolan Traore. The Nets draft will still never make sense to me.
Yeah, the only guy for the rest of the first round who I want to mention in more than passing is Danny Wolf at 27. So we're skipping over Asa Newell, 23, Nick Clifford, 24, who I really liked and hope he can get some minutes because Sacramento team's terrible and they should be playing him. Jace Richardson, Ben Saroff. Danny Wolf at 27. I had him at 9. And it's been, I think, the flashes of the passing and the handle and some of the creativity have been there. The team's better with him on the court, much better with him on the court compared to off. The shooting has been better from 3 than I expected. His overall efficiency is still pretty low and the turnovers are an issue, but I think he's probably still the most promising of the Nets' 5 firsts from this year, at least the one who I would like bet on as, Drake Powell maybe has the highest floor of all their picks, but Wolf, I think, has the highest ceiling of the 5 guys that they picked in this class. So
I'd give it to Wolf. I still believe in Wolf's floor just because of his IQ, his decision making, and his creativity. I think there a lot of people, probably in part because he's white and he's a little bit ground bound, like really questioned his defensive potential in the NBA. Like, I think he's going to be fine. I don't think he's never going to be a great defender, but just watching him move, watching him slide his feet in the Nets games I have watched, I just believe he's going to be at worst a rotation guy for a long time.
Yeah. I thought the defensive concerns were overblown with him as well. I was much more concerned about his turnovers than his defense coming out of college, which to this point has held up both of those concerns or non-concerns. But yeah.
All right, like a few names. We both loved Nick Clifford. He's really struggled to score, and Sacramento is an absolute shit show right now. Let's just wait and see on Nick Clifford.
Yeah.
He's such a winning guy that I just think unless he's actually gonna like break his jumper and have no way to fit in offensively, I think he's gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Other names I just wanted to plug. Kalkbrenner I had at 18. They told me I was crazy. He looks like he deserved to be picked in the top 18. He's hurt right now, and I do think Moussa Diabate should probably be their starting center because he just has a crazy nose for the ball in Charlotte. But I love Kalk. And Kalk is shooting like 78% from the field or something stupid. He is so self-aware. He knows exactly what he is on the court to do. He is a rim protector. He understands his length. He doesn't overcommit as a defender because he's 7'2" and so long. So I'm excited for him in Charlotte. Noah Penda I had at 19, which was way above consensus. He's just a really sick, like stocks, thick wing, steals plus blocks. And sort of like Carter Bryant in San Antonio, like I'm just excited for Orlando that things look good. And they have a guy like that who's, barely tapped into his potential so far. Hugo Gonzalez, I had at 22. He went 28. And he looks like he's going to be a really fun hustle player at the very least. And maybe the offense will develop over time. Is there anyone else we wanted to plug?
I'd like the Lakers to play Adu Thero a little bit more. That's the only other thing I'll say.
Yep. And Reynaud, the Stanford man.
Yeah.
He's had some moments with, I think it's a meniscus tear for Sabonis.
Mm-hmm.
Reynaud has looked really good on offense and just looks confident out there. This looks like a backup center at the least. And maybe there's an offensive ceiling with his, shooting touch and just like his confidence with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't get to evaluating Hugo Gonzalez. I wish I had, but he's been super impressive and probably the steal of the draft, at least for impact this year. But yeah, the rest of them, I think, are either not playing that much or there's not much to say about them.
Thank you guys so much for listening. And the Boris Dirk podcast will be back soon. Peace.
Boris Dirk.